Hello! On this episode of the All About Yarn podcast, I'm going to be chatting to you about my trip to the Handmade Studios yarn shop on the south coast of England. I am going to be telling you about a fantastic giveaway sponsored by Lee of Luli. And I'm going to be telling you about my super mahoosive jumbo shop update that's happening tonight. So grab a cup of tea, grab your knitting, and let's have a chat. Welcome to episode 34 of the Owl About Yarn podcast. I am Jenny and I'm known as Owl About Yarn pretty much everywhere online, mainly on Instagram, but I do have a Ravelry group, a Facebook page, Twitter, and various other places. I've generally reserved the name everywhere, even if I don't use them very often. I think Instagram is where I'm most active, and Ravelry. So come and chat with me on all those places. You can find links to everywhere I'm online and a link to sign up to my newsletter at www.owlaboutyarn.com. So, episode 34. Well, this last 2 weeks, or a little bit more than 2 weeks since I put up the Nottingham Yarn Expo vlog, has been so busy. I really thought I was going to be having a bit of a break after Nottingham. That didn't quite happen, but I'll get to that a little bit later on. How are you today? I'm sitting here, I'm multitasking. I'm knitting on my Linho sweater, which I will tell you more about in a minute. I forgot to make a cup of tea. I might go and get a cup of tea in a minute. So join me. Get your work in progress out. And let's have a chat. So diving straight in, let me just turn the volume off on my phone, otherwise all you'll hear is the knock, which is Zoe of the Pins and Needles podcast and I chatting to each other. We have a messenger group, we chat to each other on Facebook Messenger from time to time, and you'll just hear a knock, which is Zoe trying to get out of my phone. Oh dear, where was I? Works in progress. Well, as I said, I'm working on my Linho sweater. I'd really hoped to have it finished by today. I'd really hoped to have it finished by yesterday, which was the 30th of November, because I'm in a Ravelry group called the Harry Potter Knit and Crochet House Cup, and it's amazing how fake internet points can be extremely motivating to get knitted and crocheted things finished. However, life got in the way this last month and I didn't manage to get there. But I am on the second sleeve. I've only done one decrease though, so I'm still a fair way off. I think you can just see that's as long as the sleeve is at the moment. And yeah, I've got a fair way left to go, but then it will be done. It's just this one little sleeve, which is mainly stockings, well it is all stocking stitch, but just a few decreases along the way. So reasonably mindless, and I thought I'd try and knit a little bit of it while I was talking to you. Which probably isn't my best idea because I don't know where my decreases are now. Oh, there one is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, I'm decreasing on the next round. So I'll put this down while I'm talking to you. So, it is a Linho sweater by Joji Locatelli. It is knit in my own yarn, and I don't think I'm going to be able to show it all to you in one go, because I'm sitting too close to the camera today. But it was an experiment of a dyeing job, which was somewhat successful. I will share what was not successful in a minute, which is probably not the most professional thing to do, but it's good to admit to messing things up from time to time. Anyway, the sweater has this lovely lace panel all the way down the centre front, and then the rest of it is pretty much all stocking stitch. Now, there were two reasons that I chose this jumper to knit. Firstly, I wanted to knit something in my own yarn which I would wear at events. and most of what I dye is 4-ply or fingering weight yarn. Excuse me. So it had to be a 4-ply fingering weight sweater or cardigan. I prefer sweaters or jumpers to cardigans on the whole, unless I'm wearing a really nice dress and I just want something to layer on to keep me warm at the top. And then the other reason that I chose this was because I thought a light sweater would be a really good idea when we're going to shows where we don't know what sort of temperature it's going to be. So for example, Wonderwool is either freezing cold or it's pleasantly warm. Now, pleasantly warm and moving around all the time, this would be enough, maybe even with a shawl over the top if it's a bit chilly or drafty. Freezing cold, and I could wear this almost instead of a t-shirt and then have a heavier cardigan or jumper over the top. So it's all about the woolly layers. And then a show like West Wales Wool Show, that was quite warm because it was in a hotel. So I could wear this there because it's an inside thing, so I wouldn't need to worry about being too warm. Edinburgh Yarn Festival is boiling, so I don't know if I'd even manage to keep this on there. I'd probably have to have something underneath that I could take it all off to. Oh, and excuse my not very knittily gap jumper, but I just wanted something really cosy and warm. As I said, it's been a long couple of weeks, and if I could podcast in pyjamas without feeling awkward, that's what I would be doing today. You have days like that, you know what I mean? Anyway, so as I said, I've done the first sleeve, the whole of the body is done, and I'm on the second sleeve. This isn't showing true to colour, it's a lot greener in real life, but I can't fix that, I'm afraid, with the camera as it is. It just doesn't want to play ball. Now, here's where I admit to where I went wrong. So, I wanted to have this sort of speckly effect. So I tried a tie-dye type technique where I tied the skeins in bunches with really tight string, and then dyed the rest of the yarn in this dark green colour, and then I undid all the strings so there were bare patches just an inch about 3 or 4 times through the skein, and then I put it all into a lilac dye bath because I knew that wouldn't bother the green very much, especially because it's a tealy green, and then it would dye all of these little undyed spots a lilac colour, which was fine, and it all looked very even and consistent through all the 5 skeins that I dyed when I brought it out of the dye bath. However, this is not a technique that I will be employing in the shop because, so the first skein did the whole of the top, it was top down, and then you'll be able to tell when I went on to the second skein. Do you see it gets stripy? That must have been a skein that was in the middle of the bunch of 5. So because I tied all 5 together I put 5 skeins out in big O's and layered them on top of each other, and then I tied around this big thick O that I'd made of the 5 skeins to do the tie-dyeing. And the second skein, where the dye isn't quite so saturated, you can see the difference, that must have been in the middle, and dye just didn't penetrate quite to the middle as well as it could have done. It's fine for me, I'll wear it, as much as a lesson to myself to not do that again. If I was going to do this technique again, I would have to take the time to, and it took a lot of time because I had to sort of wrap the string really tightly and pull it really, anyway. I would have to do each skein individually, and because of the length of time that it would take me to do that, that's what puts me off dyeing this commercially for the shop. So, which is a shame because I quite like the effect, but there we go. You learn these things by doing these things, don't you? And then you make sure you don't make the same mistake again. But I thought I'd come clean and own up that, you know, nobody's perfect. But also, I didn't want you to look at the jumper and for me not to admit to it and think, oh, that's not very good, and then get put off my yarn, because that would make me sad, because I'm really careful. I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to my yarn. So there we go. It's a cautionary tale for myself. A little bit sad, but a little bit okay. And hopefully by the next time I podcast, I will have a finished jumper. I might not be wearing it because it may still be absolutely bitterly cold in Cardiff, but at least I can show it to you. And yeah, I hope so, because I'm really, really hoping, and this is just, hang on, I need to knock on some wood. I'm really, really hoping that everything's going to calm down in the next couple of weeks. So, what else did I have one finished object. I do not have it in my hands at the moment or within reach. My younger son, Ben, who has been on the podcast before, he's the blonde one, he has gone off on a school trip to Germany just for a couple of days, and we were told it was going to be colder over there than here. I don't think it is. I think it's roughly the same, maybe a degree or two colder, but I think they're expecting some snow and some rain, so it might actually feel colder while they're outside. So I made him a hat. I chose one of my skeins of Aran, which is currently reduced in the Etsy shop, because, well, I'd almost decided that I wasn't going to sell heavier weights of yarn anymore, except now I kind of want to again. So I might be giving those another go after Christmas. I just can't make my mind up to anything. It's being a Gemini. I'm a butterfly brain. I flutter from one thing to the next. But they are still reduced, the remnants of what I've got left. The colourway that I used for Ben's hat was called Peace of Mind, and it was on 100% BFL Aran, and I do have a picture, which I'll put in here. So that's his hat, and he's really happy with it. He wore it to get on the bus. One of his friends teased him about it and said, "Oh my god, I can't believe that you're wearing a hat that looks sewn. Look, you can see where it's been sewn." So he was looking at the crown decreases, and Ben stood there looking really awkward and not really knowing what to say. And then this kid wandered off, and he turned around to say goodbye to me before he got on the bus, and he went, "Oh mum, I really like the hat, okay." So I was like, oh, bless him. But I'm just hoping that he doesn't let it put him off wearing it, because if it's as cold there as it is here, he's going to really need his hat. Anyway, so I made that for him. I've also reserved another skein of that Aran for myself to make Zoe's latest pattern, the Jackson's Bay Cowl. Have you seen that pattern? We mentioned it on our vlog because it was released when we went to Nottingham. It's just such a lovely pattern, and that leads me swiftly into my stash acquisitions. I will tell you more about the shop that I got it from in a minute, but I bought this West Yorkshire Spinners, the Croft Shetland Tweed 100% Shetland Island wool, to make Rob. See, the camera doesn't know what to do when it's sunny outside. It's completely blowing it out. I'm going to make my husband Rob, who you'll see in a minute, a Jackson's Bay Cowl. And because I was in a shop where they had the actual yarn, I thought, well, and because I don't have any Aran left in colours that he'd be interested in wearing, because he's not really a colour lover. You have to give him things that are a bit bland, otherwise it just wouldn't get worn. I got this. So, yeah, I'm not sure. This might be the same colour that Zoe had. I'll have to check. She can match with Rob, if it was. But I might try and knit this up in time for Christmas so I can wrap it up for him, because I know it's not, it doesn't take long to knit that cowl. And that would be nice for him through January and February and probably March as well. But yes, that's my first stash acquisition. Another one, I was buying some things on Amazon and a recommendation came up. It's dangerous. They shouldn't be allowed to do it. And it was a pack of 4 balls of Sirdar Heart and Soul sock yarn. And I'm not sure, I think I've got a skein. I'm not sure if I've knitted with it. But it was only £12 for the 4 balls instead of, I think on their own they were selling for £6 or £7 each. So I thought, well, how can you turn that down? So I got 4 balls, and 3 of them, these 3, will probably end up being socks for my husband, for Rob. While he's not big on wearing colourful hats and scarves, he doesn't mind a jazzy pair of socks, and he loves his hand knit socks. They're the things, if I make them, he's guaranteed to wear them. So they don't seem to have colourway numbers, but they're 75% wool and 25% nylon. And they've just got numbers rather than names. But I thought those 2 would be really nice for him. He does like green, it's one of his favourite colours. And then that one's got that bit of purple in it, there's a little bit of pink as well, but I don't think he'll notice that so much when it's knitted into socks. And if it's that obvious when I start knitting it up, I'll just alter the length and I'll make them for me. So that's 3 of them, and then the 4th one, which I thought, yeah, that's a bit too pink for Rob to be interested in it, is this one. And that will end up being a pair of socks for me at some point. I'm thinking possibly having a spring full of socks and just knitting lots and lots of socks through the next few months. I've certainly got plenty of industrial sock yarn to keep me going. I've also, completely unrelated to knitting, recently got some mango butter and some beeswax pellets. They just arrived today, and I'm going to have a go at making lotion bars and lip balms with all my free time. So the shop that I got my croft from was Handmade Studios in Portsmouth. I went down there on Wednesday because Linda Kirkbride, who runs the shop, has had a year of featuring indie dyers in her shop, and she has a couple of spaces right after you get into the shop, right facing you, where you can have a grid wall basically, about a foot wide by, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet deep, and put your yarns on display for a month. So she put out a call for indie dyers very early this year, I think it was, to say who would be interested in doing this. So I got in touch and said, yeah, why not? You know, I'm always interested in exploring new ways to sell my stuff, and while I'm not sure if wholesaling is going to be the way forward for me unless somebody wants to buy properly in bulk, I don't mind one-offs, you know. So I got December as my month, and I decided that I would use it as an excuse to have a bit of a road trip and drive down to, they're just north of Portsmouth in Rowlands Castle. I say Waterlooville in the clip that I'm going to show you in a bit, but that's a little bit further south. The shop's actually in Rowlands Castle. Yeah, so I decided to have a road trip and take my yarn down there myself so that I could see what the shop was like, because we don't have a local yarn shop in Cardiff itself anymore. We've got a couple just outside. We've got Yarn and Yarns, which is lovely in Penarth, run by the lovely Ange, and we have La Mercerie in Cowbridge. That's a little bit further away again, but not too far. It's drivable. But nothing actually in Cardiff anymore. The last couple closed over the last few years, so I thought, well, why not take the opportunity to go down there? And I'm glad I did. It was really nice. It was a lot of driving. Between that and driving my kids around in the evening, I think I travelled about 340 miles on Wednesday. But it was a lovely, lovely little shop. It's split into 3 rooms. and she's got such a lovely selection. She's got all of the basic acrylics that people want for knitting bomb-proof kids stuff and toys and things, but then she's got a really nice selection of West Yorkshire spinners. She had some fibre spates, she had some other indie dyers. I noticed, who did I see there? Jelly Beans Yarns, Dye Ninja. Oh, it's escaping me now. This is where I need Zoe. She remembers these things. Anyway, she had really quite a lot of, only small amounts of some of them, but a nice selection of lots of different dyers so that you weren't limited to just the same things that you'd see if you went into, say, a John Lewis haberdashery section or something. And she also had a really nice choice of opal sock yarns as well. I was really tempted when I saw a glittery one, because there's a glittery sock along going on in a Ravelry thread that I'm chatty in at the moment, but I thought no, there's no point. I've just bought 4 balls of sock yarn over here, so let's get through some of those first. So I took my box down there. It was a reasonably straightforward drive. It was about 2.5 hours to get there, I think. And we did stop for breakfast on the way. And as a special treat, I did plan to vlog more of the journey, but then it just didn't happen. It didn't sit. There wasn't the right opportunity to do more of it. But I did do a very short review of Mega Services after the husband and I stopped there for breakfast. So I'll let you see that now while I go and make a cup of tea. We're back, and I have Mr. Owlabout Yarn in the passenger seat now. He's got his festive coffee, so he's happy. What was it you said you had? Honeycomb latte?
Yep.
So is that like a crunchy in a coffee or something?
Kind of, yeah.
If I like coffee, I'd probably enjoy that, but I don't like coffee, so I could try honeycomb hot chocolate though. That'd probably be too sweet. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so Mega Services, not that great. McDonald's was fine. Hugely unhealthy breakfast, but that's what you expect from McDonald's. And I worked it out, it's about the first time in 7 years that I've had a McDonald's breakfast, so that's not that bad going, really. And then, as I said, Mr. Owlabout Yarns treated himself to a Costa coffee, and but I already had my tea that he made me before we left, and my fab travel mug means that it's still hot enough to burn my tongue, so it's all good. But we did have to investigate the loos.
I wouldn't put it quite like that.
Well, it's a public service that Zoe and I are providing to regular watchers of our podcast.
Okay.
They weren't great. The temperature alone, I think, was a ploy to make sure that I didn't hang about, because it probably would have been warmer if I'd gone up behind a bush in the car park. Oh, it's freezing in there. It was like they found out how cold it was outside and then air conditioned it to 3 degrees less. So yeah, I wasn't hanging about at all. It was clean enough because I followed a cleaner round, so I went in one that she'd just finished. Unfortunately, that one didn't have a lock on the door, so I had to find a different cubicle. And Zoe wouldn't have appreciated it because it was one of those wave flushes. Now, I quite like them because you don't have to touch where somebody else's germy hands have been. But I know that Zoe, being taller, does inadvertently set off the flushes when she's sat on the loo. So she's not as big a fan. And then
Don't lean back as far.
Well, yeah, there is that. I think she's just so relieved to sit down sometimes because she's on the go all the time. She just sort of relaxes, goes, and then gives herself a shock. So a bit of a cold water douche. But yeah, so on the whole, not the best. And Mr. Owlabout Yarn reckons that the gents weren't brilliant either. So
nope.
That's another perspective that we don't usually get to offer you on the Owlabout Yarn or the Pins and Needles podcasts, seeing as we don't take it upon ourselves to go into the men's and let you know how they are. But basically, if you want a drink or something to eat, Mega Services is great. If you want a wee, maybe try and hold on till Lee Delamere. That would be my advice. Anyway, we're going to carry on now. We've got a couple of hours left on the road before we get to Waterlooville. Hopefully the traffic won't be too bad. And it's my turn to drive, which is why you get a beautiful view of my steering wheel. I must apologise for that, but the sun, with it being nearly December, the sun's really low in the sky, and I've actually parked in 3 different parking spaces in the car park to try and find somewhere where either...
She really did.
either the sun is not making me look weird, like it's making him look weird.
Get the light right, get the light right.
Yeah, I've got to get the light right, and I can't have it blasting through the camera, so this is the best I could do. Anyway, onwards. So in synopsis, Mega Services wasn't great. So far, I think Gloucester Services is the only one that we've actually liked. Some of the others have been okay, but yeah, I think they could all use some work. I think it's basically you've got no choice, so maybe they feel that they don't need to make them particularly appealing, because when you got to go and you're on the motorway, you got to go. You're not going to go off-piste and try and find somewhere that's miles away, are you? Never mind. Anyway, we went down there, we dropped the box off, and then we had arranged to meet up with Mairead. Hi Mairead, and which was lovely. That was a real surprise when I got a message on Instagram saying that she'd like to meet up for a cup of tea. So we went into the lovely cafe next door to the yarn shop and had the biggest pieces of cake you've ever seen and a cup of tea. And of course I took a picture to share with you. Suffice it to say, I didn't need lunch. That was it then, until dinner when I got home. It really was as big as it looked. I had lemon and blueberry cake. I think Mairead had a really nice fruit cake. And Rob had Guinness and chocolate cake, or chocolate and Guinness. I don't know which way round it. It wouldn't make any difference, would it? But anyway, he had his. He couldn't quite finish it. He said it was too rich. But it was all really nice. It was a really lovely cafe. And they had loads of cushions with quotations on. And yeah, it was a really nice place. I didn't look at the menu. Mairead and I were so busy talking that the day sort of just, or the hour or two that we had there, would just sort of flew past. But it was really nice to see her again after, because I met her, it was Jolie's retreat, wasn't it, where I met you? I don't think you were at the Geeky Puff in Knitpalooza. Anyway, that was really, really nice. And then, of course, we had to go back into the yarn shop, because why wouldn't you? And that's when I found the West Yorkshire Spinners Croft. And I had Rob in there with me. He'd had a bit of a stretch of the legs and came back, and of course I was still looking at the yarn. So he came in and I showed him that skein and I said, "What do you think of that?" And he said, "It's all right." I said, "Right, okay. What if I were to make you a cowl?" And he looked very dubious. Mairead helped me to explain to him that cowls aren't a girly thing and that anybody can wear a cowl. It's just, a scarf substitute. So he was pacified by that, and I explained I needed him to help me choose yarn, and he said he didn't care. So I chose that one. This is what I have to deal with. I don't know. Anyway, hopefully he likes it when it's knitted, otherwise maybe I'll give it to a son. I think my sons would like it. Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, so we did have to get back on the road quite quickly. We didn't have that long there, maybe, I don't know how long we were there, about an hour and a half probably. And then we had to call in on my husband's sister on the way home to pick a couple of things up, and got stuck in traffic inevitably because of the time of day, and got back about 5:30. So it was quite a long day. We left just about 8:30 in the morning, I think it was. So yeah, most of it was travelling. But I'm still really glad I went, because it was just lovely to see the shop and see where my yarn was going to be. And to see Mairead, obviously that was brilliant, because it's lovely to meet up with you people who I chat to online, but it's not that often that we get to meet up face to face. So talking of meetups, I wanted to tell you where I'm going to be over the next few months. Well, I'll tell you about the next 2 events I'm going to be going to. Firstly, on I've written it down, where is it? The 15th to the 17th of February, I am going to be in Exeter in the West Point Arena at Craft for Crafters, which is a big multi-craft dual festival. My work wife will be going down with me as well, Zoe will be there. So if you're in the area, come and say hello, we'd love to see you. I'm going to be taking all of my usual stuff, but ramped up a bit because it's a 3-day event, 15th, 16th and 17th. So I'm going to have to up production a little bit, I think, and take a bit more than I usually would. So that was a bit of a last minute addition to the agenda. I only emailed them a couple of weeks ago and found out that they did have a space. So yeah, that's all come about quite quickly. That's nice because I didn't have anything else happening in February. Then in March, I'm not vending at, but I am visiting Edinburgh Yarn Festival, again with Zoe, and we can't wait. We're almost counting sleeps. We were counting sleeps until Exeter, and then Edinburgh is exactly 4 weeks later. So we've got our B&B booked, we've got our flights booked, and we're really excited to come and meet loads of you again. We really enjoyed being in the podcast lounge last year and seeing lots of you who watch our podcasts and getting to chat with you and get to know you a bit better. That was lovely. We'll have to make sure we bring some pin badges up this year, because I think a few of you who are going to the Knitty Retreat might be there, and also I've made some Owl About Yarn badges as well, so you'll have to stop me and grab one if you want one. But yeah, we're really looking forward to that. So the marketplace for Edinburgh Yarn Festival will be the 15th to the 17th of March in the same place again, but I understand that they've extended the social area at the back, so that'd be interesting to see what they've done with that. And because it was just rammed, it was so packed, but it was so lovely. We met so many people that we knew and that we knew of because we'd watched their podcasts. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. I might have to make myself something new to wear to Edinburgh. Maybe another cardigan. I wore my Hitafude cardigan last year. Zoe wore Zoe wore a Kate Davis design because she went to the Kate Davis stall and said, "Look, I made it." But I can't remember which one it was, Zoe, I'm really sorry. You know what I'm like with pattern names. But she was absolutely boiling, so as soon as she found Kate Davis and showed it to her, she had to take it off because she would have just roasted slowly from the inside out. It would have been slow roast Zoe for tea. But, so yeah, she might be wearing something lighter next year. But yeah, so maybe a feather light I could do. Do you know any 4-ply fingering weight cardigans, Hitafude-esque, that I could maybe make to go to Edinburgh? Because I think 4-ply is about as heavy as I'd want to go to Edinburgh Yarn Festival. We're also hoping we're there for a day either side of the festival, and we're hoping to do a bit more sightseeing again. So last time we did a walking tour, and that was really, really good to get some basic history of Edinburgh. And we went to the outside of the castle, but we didn't actually go in, so we're hoping to go and actually see the castle this year. I don't know if we've got any other plans. I think it depends on what plans we make for social events that are actually tied into Edinburgh Yarn Festival at the moment. But it might be nice to meet up with some people in the evenings. So get in touch if you're going to be there. Maybe a bit nearer the time, I'll put the call out and we can see if we can arrange something, because that would be cool. I think that's all of the events I wanted to tell you about for now. I think we have something nearly every month through to late summer next year, potentially, but I'll tell you more about the other events nearer to the time. So of course we're running, talking of events, we're running the Knitty Retreat knit-alongs all through the year. And we're still on the first one. If you watch that podcast that I put up, you'll see that we're doing an Annick and Alice knit along. And through the end of this month, December, we have a discount code where you can get any of her patterns that are available on Ravelry at a discount, which is so kind of her. And then the closing date for that knit along is the 21st of January, I believe. It's either the 20th or the 21st, because then the next one starts the following day. And I do have another finished object which I've just remembered, which I said I was going to show you last episode and then I forgot. So let me just fetch that and I'll be back. Here I am. Sorry about that. I completely forgot about this again. This poor shawl, it's been forgotten twice now. Honestly. So, this is the Rose Craddock shawl by Annick and Alice, and it is my entry into our knit along. It's finished and it's blocked. If you went to Nottingham Yarn Expo, you will have seen it hanging up on the stall. Oh, isn't it beautiful? I love this pattern. Now, I did adapt the pattern slightly because it turned out, I don't know if it's because I'm a loose knitter, I wasn't going to have enough yarn to do the whole pattern as it was written. And so with this section, I'm trying to do this while looking through the lace, hang on. With this section, you were supposed to knit 3 lace repeats, but I ended up knitting 2.5. So I knit the first 2 and then I knit the second half of the repeat and went straight into the border section. But I think it's alright. It doesn't look too hideous for it, I don't think. And then you've got these little pointy bits which have the beads on them. So you only need 15 or 16 beads, but it's just such a nice highlight on the edge. So yeah, I'm really pleased with this. And this is knitted in my Tibetan owl, which is merino silk and yak. And it has got such a nice drape. I knew it would because there's silk in it as well. And it's really warm with the yak and the merino. And I love it. And this is the rose colourway. I believe there's one more skein left of this in my shop. It's slightly pinker than it's coming up on the screen. That's weird. Pink comes up as purple, purple comes up as blue. Anyway, so this is my finished object for the Knitty Retreat knit along for the first quarter. But I have a giveaway to tell you about. The fabulous Lee from Shop Luli has released recently a set of patterns which are gorgeous. Where's my phone? I'll show you pictures. It's called the Tiny Owls collection. Hang on, I did set it all up. It's called of course my phone has to refresh, doesn't it? The Tiny Owls collection, and it's a hat and socks and mittens with colourwork owls, and she was kind enough to give a set to us as a giveaway. So look at the hat with all the little owls. So of course I'm going to have to knit it. I think that's gorgeous. I love the big pom-pom as well. I might have to get another one of those pom-poms from Toft, because the one that I've got on my barbel there's just no weight to it. So you've got the effect of the pom-pom, but not the weight pulling it off the back of your head. So let's see if I can find Tiny Owl socks. So it's the same motif around the top of the socks. How lovely is that? The little owls. Can you see them properly? Well, I will put links in the show notes, and there will be a thread in my Ravelry group which I'll tell you about in a little minute now. And let's see if I can find the mittens, because they were really cute as well. It's such a lovely set. mittens. There we go, and they're knitted. Well, she's made them in Blacker Yarns Tamar 4-ply, but she said that you could use any fingering weight yarn for them. I like that. I like that the thumbs grow out of the sides of the mitten so that you're not stretching it across your palm. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to make some of these come the new year. It's no good. They're calling my name. Anyway, I'm getting away from myself. So Lee was super kind and gifted, oh, I hate that word. She gave me the pattern set. And as I said, she gave me a set to give to you. So what I'm going to ask you to do is go to the Ravelry thread, which I will link in the show notes, and tell me what colours of yarn you would use to knit the set, or just one of the patterns out of the set if you only want to make a hat or you only want to make mittens. But what would you use? Bonus points if you tell me the brand of yarn as well as the colourway. So you could go in and you could say, I would knit that in purple and natural. That's what I'd do. Bonus points if you could say, I will knit that in Owl About Yarn, Amethyst Sparkle Owl and Undyed Sparkle Owl, or West Yorkshire Spinners. I don't know West Yorkshire Spinners names. But you get the gist. If you can tell me the brand as well as the colours that you're going to use, you'll get 2 points instead of, or 2 entries instead of just 1. Now, I'm going to keep this open until the day that I record the next podcast, and then I will lock the thread and announce a winner on the next podcast. And then the winner will have to get in touch with me. I will pass their Ravelry details on to Lee, who will send them a copy of the pattern to their Ravelry library. So how does that sound to you? I think that's really generous of her, especially with it being a whole collection, not just one pattern. But yeah, I love that. I think that's going to be a lovely thing to knit. And with that, I think that's everything that I wanted to tell you. So just a quick non-knitting related this last fortnight, honestly. So we went to Nottingham. It was just tiring overall because it was a late setup, and then it's always tiring coming home because you break down, and we try and when I say break down, you take down all your stall and you pack it all away, and we always try and come home that day rather than incurring the cost of an extra night and trying to find somebody to take our kids to school on a Monday morning. So we always try and come home on the Sunday evening so that we're back and it's done. But that does mean that we're absolutely shattered on the Monday. But we were absolutely shattered the whole weekend. And then straight off, I had to dive into bookkeeping that I do. I do bookkeeping for a local after-school club annually. And it's not too much work, but when you do it all in one go, it is a few days solid work. And it was just that it fell that same time of year that it had to be done. So I had a few hectic days with that. Then we had the kit that Cece and I were collaborating on, the Anne of Green Gables kit. There was all the promotion for that and the pre-orders. Then as soon as the pre-orders closed, I had to get on with ordering all the fabric and the yarn and everything like that so that I could get making. I'm still waiting on one of the fabrics to arrive because it was a custom printed fabric and that's coming from abroad. So I've done as much as I can for now, and then as soon as that fabric comes in, I'll be able to cut that up and really get going on sewing the bags. So that'll be how I'm busy next week. Then, as I say, I applied to this other show, the show in Exeter, but they need paying straight away. So I thought, oh blimey, okay, I better get a shop update up. So there will be a shop update tonight possibly around about the same time this podcast goes live at the rate I'm going, actually. But newsletter subscribers will get notified when the shop update is live so that you can get straight in there and don't miss out. So if you're not signed up, go to www.owlaboutyarn.com and click on the link to sign up for my newsletter so you don't miss it. I've got some really nice, if I say so myself, yarns in it this time, and I will do a little video at the end where I just show you what I'm going to be putting in my shop tonight. But there are self-striping yarns, gradients, I have special Christmas baubles which you won't want to miss, and after being asked by a lot of people, I'm putting my yarn mini skein earrings in the shop as well. And as well as that, I'm putting normal skeins of yarn and lots and lots and lots of sets of stitch markers. So it's going to be a bumper update. But it is going to be a bumper update because I need to pay for these shows. They're 2 big shows. The bills have come in all at once. And I'm expecting another show. Well, I already paid for one a couple of weeks ago. They all seem to come in at this time of year. I don't know how they manage it. But yeah, there's another big show that will be due in a couple of weeks again. Oh, and Christmas. So yeah, I'm working hard to try and get everything ready. With regards to Christmas, I'm hoping to record one more podcast before then. But I have put in my newsletter the last recommended posting dates for before Christmas deliveries. I believe the Tuesday before Christmas is pretty much the last time I can post anything, and the post office will tell me it will probably get there for Christmas, so I can't guarantee it because they don't, but that's the last time that I can, that's my last recommended date. I think I will probably shut the shop for Christmas and New Year on Christmas Eve, or possibly the day before Christmas Eve, but I'll put notices up on Instagram. And let's face it, at that point, it's going to be too late to order anything for Christmas anyway. But then I will be taking off the entire week between Christmas and New Year, and I will turn the shop back on probably on the 2nd or 3rd of January. And I think, did I have anything else to tell you about? I think that's all. So we will now go to the video of all the things that I'm going to put in the shop. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I hope you'll join me again in a fortnight. Bye-bye. So we have these self-striping colourways. We have Lilac Mist, Stick of Rock, Pool Tiles, Anna, Day at the Races, and Orange and Mint. I'm sorry for the light, it's not the best. And I have, if I can get it to show you properly, my Christmas baubles. And in this refillable Christmas bauble you can see 2 chocolate coins, which may be the most important part. You get a little jingly stitch marker on the top, and there are 2 more tucked away in the bottom in festive colours. And then I've got a whole selection of these Christmassy progress keepers. So there are 2 in each one. If I just fetch another one, you can see it's turned around, but there's a candy cane. Can you see it's red and white striped on the back? And then in another one we've got a nice Christmas tree. Oh, there's a candy cane the right way around, see? And they all have 5 5-gram balls of yarn, all squished in. I really couldn't have got an extra bit in here, can you see? There's barely any room. So these will all be going in the shop tonight, as well as lots and lots and lots of stitch markers. And let's see if I can just... Oh my days, I'm not panning around because my living room is a disaster zone right now with all of the things that are waiting to be lifted. Here are the gradients. So that there is my Impressionist rainbow, and it's not solid It's a bit space dyed, if you like, but I love it. I may have to have one, or at least I may dye myself another one if they all sell. And then there's this grey and silver gradient, goes right to dark grey in the middle, with sparkly yarn. A few of these are sparkly actually. I love this one going between turquoise and lilac and then finishing off with blue, or the other way around, starting off with blue and going through purple and turquoise. We have grey and yellow, very much on trend. It's probably so last year now because I'm not into the whatever's on trend at the moment, but I remember Grello being a thing, so I've got grey and yellow there. And then this sort of pink and purpley brown, and a blue gradient as well. So there are some that aren't sparkly. I think that one isn't sparkly, but quite a lot of them are, and I see no problem with that. Love a sparkle. The rainbow ones are sparkly. Can you see the glitter in there? So these will all be going into the shop along with normal skeins of yarn, and as I said, lots of stitch markers later on tonight. Thank you so much for watching my podcast. You can find me pretty much anywhere online as owlaboutyarn.com. I'd love it if you would give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any future episodes of the podcast. See you soon!